Now, when a player gets stuck on a tricky boss, they may find themselves in an awkward stalemate. Although bosses are expected to be defeated in a certain way, sometimes they can be beaten by relying on cheap tactics, spamming, or by taking advantage of a glitch. But you know what? Some bosses, they're aware that you're going to try and do that and will call you out for your shenanigans. So let's have a chat, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video game bosses that react to you being a jerk. Number 10. Tiny Tiger, Crash Bandicoot Warped. In Crash Bandicoot Warped's first boss battle, Tiny Tiger challenges Crash inside a gladiatorial arena, while audience members cheer on from the sidelines. When the oxymoronical name Tiger isn't jabbing you with an oversized trident, he's summoning lions into the arena to tear you to pieces. Even though this fight is actually a piece of cake, there is actually a way to make it even easier. By standing in the top left or top right of the room, the lions won't be able to reach you, allowing you to cheese your way through the entire scrap. This tactic is so well known that the developers behind Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy could have actually fixed it, but they chose not to, and instead inserted a mechanic to make the player feel bad if they used this method. Because if you cheese your way through the Tiny Tiger brawl in the remake, the crowd will show their disdain by hurling Swiss cheese at Crash. Although this method is the easiest way to defeat Tiny Tiger, you'll probably feel guilty afterwards since the game keeps reminding you that you're not relying on skill. Number 9. Tonberry, Final Fantasy XI. One reoccurring Final Fantasy enemy that's sure to give anyone a hard time is Tonberry. Now, he might not look like much, but this tiny cave dweller can shuffle off the most devastating attacks with ease and kill almost anyone with a single strike. However, Tonberry in Final Fantasy XI are far more formidable. Every time you vanquish one of these blade-wielding creatures, a mechanic is activated that increases Tonberry's damage output in the future. The most frustrating thing about this feature is that there is no indication it even exists. As a result, you'll be probably deeply confused why you're having such difficulty disposing the green-skinned goblin-like creatures in later stages of the game when you had little trouble earlier on in your adventure. But you know what? It gets even worse. If your party goes around and murders every Tonberry that crosses your path, the critters will eventually become too strong to fight, making progress virtually impossible. Fortunately, this mechanic can be reset by performing a side quest called Everyone's Grudge. All round, it's less time-consuming and frustrating just to leave the Tonberry well alone. Number 8. Ocelot, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Even though Metal Gear Solid has a plethora of defining moments, one scene that sticks out from the original is when reoccurring boss Revolver Ocelot tortures Snake while he's tied to an electrical device. Throughout this sequence, the one-handed assassin keeps on shocking Snake, hoping to make him talk. It's an instant game over as Snake's health bar hits 0, so you have to rapidly press the fire button to stop that from happening. Fortunately though, it's impossible to lose in the PS1 version if players are using a third-party controller with auto fire mode. So when it was time to develop the Twin Snakes remake, the developers made sure that nobody could exploit this trick. Just before the interrogation takes place, Ocelot looks directly into the camera and yells, "Don't even think about using auto-fire or I'll know." And anyone who didn't listen to the Foxhound operative quickly realized that he wasn't bluffing. If an auto-fire is activated, Ocelot will say, "You have a death wish, boy?" And if the auto-fire still isn't turned off, then and there, Snake's health will rapidly drain, causing him to die almost immediately. Now, in Ocelot's defense, he made it clear what happened to cheaters. Number 7. DRM Scorpion, Serious Sam 3. Now, over the years, developers have devised creative methods to deal with video game pirates. Playing an illegal copy of Earthbound, for example, makes the enemy significantly harder. Pirating Batman Arkham Asylum disabled some of the Dark Knight's crucial abilities like gliding. And so when it came to Serious Sam 3, the team took special measures to combat cheaters. If the system detects that you're playing an illegally down version of this over-the-top shooter, a DRM Scorpion will begin chasing you straight off the bat. Now, at first, this doesn't seem like a big deal. Throughout the main campaign, you'll obliterate tons of these augmented souls, but this is no ordinary DRM Scorpion we're talking about. Not only does this cybernetic fiend move at ludicrous speed, it's impervious to all of your attacks. Now, it is technically possible to beat the game with this cybernetic monstrosity on your tail the entire time. In fact, some people did a speed run of the main campaign this way. But if you don't want to put up with an invulnerable Scorpion nipping at your heels from the beginning of this game to the end, there's an easy way around it. Don't cheat. Number 6. King Bobom, Super Mario 64. To collect the first power star in Super Mario 64, you'll need to reach the mountaintop in Bobom's battlefield and defeat King Bobom in a body slam match. As you do, only by throwing the mustachioed bomb to the ground 3 times will you emerge victorious. Sounds pretty simple, right? But King Bobom is a real stickler for the rules. Before the bout begins, the self-proclaimed monarch emphasizes that he can only be defeated if he's tossed onto royal turf, aka the mountaintop. After King Bobom chucks you off the mountain a couple of times, you might want to actually give this spherical adversary adversary a taste of his own medicine. Tempting as it may be though, it's actually a really bad idea. If the giant explosive is tossed off the mountaintop or baited to fall off the edge, he'll launch himself back up to the starting point and chastise you for disobeying the rules. He'll then reset the battle and heals all damage he might have suffered up to that point. Even though it's extremely satisfying and funny to watch him plummet hundreds of feet down below, it's not worth it in the long run. Number 5, Barbatos, Tales of Destiny Director's Cut. Now, there's nothing more tedious when playing an RPG than grinding. Sadly, though, there are times where it is necessary. If you encounter a boss that's impossible to defeat at your current level, you'll be compelled to laboriously fight weaker enemies until your party is stronger. Luckily, though, there's a mechanic in the Tales of Destiny remake to make grinding more bearable. Activating auto mode lets you fight automatically during random encounters, meaning you don't have to waste time manually attacking. Since this tactic allows the party members to level up without relying on skill, it actually sounds too good to be true. Sadly, it actually is, because if the auto mode has been active for 20 minutes straight, the next random encounter will be against Tales of Destiny 2's primary antagonist, Barbatos. The deranged tyrant will mock you for overusing the auto mode and ask you why you're stumbling around in circles. After giving you a stern telling off, the malevolent fiend unleashes an onslaught of devastating attacks, which will result in a game over within a matter of seconds. Although many players thought they were being clever by banking on the auto mode, Barbatos quickly reminded them that cheaters never prosper. Why put it in the game then, guys? Come on. Number 4, Bovine Defense Force Chort, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Throughout The Witcher 3, you'll face off against all sorts of nasty creatures, including spectres, crones, wyverns, and griffins. And to ensure you're always combat ready, players will need to equip the best weapons and armor, which is easier said than done since the best equipment will definitely set you back a few quid. However, there is a simple but effective technique to farm crowns, or at least there was. I'll explain. You see, after slaying a bunch of cows, Big G can sell their hide for a profit. The cows respawn so quickly that the titular warlock will be a very wealthy man in no time. But when CD Projekt Red caught wind of this, they created a patch to discourage players from slaughtering the livestock. You see, if you keep murdering the poor creatures, a level 27 chort will spawn right in front of you and start attacking. Although the chort is tough, you should come out on top if you're at a high enough level. Ironically, you can actually sell the chort's hide after it's defeated, which is worth far more than the cow skin. Nevertheless, this chort serves as a reminder to what happens to people who go around butchering farm animals. They get a difficult animal to butcher. Number 3, Karen, Hades. In Supergiant's dungeon crawler, Hades' son Zag has vowed to escape the underworld and reunite with his mother in the surface world. Facing Furies, a Hydra, the Minotaur, a legion of demons, as well as Hades himself, the cocky demigod is going to need all the help he can get in order to succeed. Luckily, Karen, the shopkeeper, randomly appears throughout his adventure, selling healing items, power-ups, and boons. Now, the boatman isn't much for conversation, but it is reassuring to see him helping you out. But if you dare to steal some of his coins, the demonic oarsman will challenge you to a fight. Now, taking on Karen actually is worth it, since defeating him will reward you with a discount card. He'll also let you keep the money that you stole, proving that he doesn't hold a grudge. But it's unwise to face him repeatedly, even if your funds are low, because if he's challenged too early on, there's little chance of victory, since you won't have enough power-ups to give yourself a fighting chance. Even if you do triumph, you'll have almost no chance of escaping hell, since your health will now be too low. Number 2, Rafe, Uncharted 4. In the final official Uncharted installment, for now at least, Nathan Drake finds himself at odds with a tyrannical businessman and bona fide a-hole, Rafe. Though you've tangled with all sorts of deplorable villains throughout Naughty Dog's treasure hunting saga, this guy really is the worst of the worst. Rafe is ill-tempered, egomaniacal, petty, self-absorbed, and psychotic. On top of that, he bloody loves to hear himself talk. Unfortunately, Rafe's incessant yammering can cause a serious problem, because during the final battle, he'll keep complaining how Nathan's adventures have allowed him to achieve fame and glory, while Rafe has been left forgotten. And while this annoying adversary is busy spinning a yarn, you might actually be tempted to attack him. But if you try to do anything except dodge, Rafe will slash at you with his rapier, and he'll off you for interrupting him before then continuing his monologue. It goes without saying that Rafe doesn't make idle threats, and if you choose to preemptively attack him again, well, he'll kill you instantly. He might be a certified jerk, but he did give you a very firm warning, so it's your own fault if you didn't listen. And number 1, Sans, Undertale. It's safe to say there's no character that calls you out for misbehaving like Sans from Undertale. Toby Fox's notoriously nutty turn-based title has 3 main endings or routes, which you fall into depending on the actions of your protagonist. And unlike most RPGs, you can actually spare your opponents after they're defeated. Showing mercy to all enemies will set you on the pacifist route. If you refuse to kill a few enemies, you'll be locked into the neutral route. But by choosing to murder every single enemy, sub-boss and boss in the game, you'll unlock the genocidal route, where you must face Sans. The mischievous skeleton is a nightmare to fight since his attacks are relentless, devastating, and untelegraphed. 8 years after Undertale's release, Sans is still considered one of the most infuriating video game bosses ever. However, you don't have the right to get frustrated with this battle. After all, Sans only challenged you because you went out of your way to act like a genocidal maniac. If you spared one single enemy, this borderline impossible battle would be bypassed entirely. As such, you only have yourself to blame when Sans shows you a bad time.